This page is the front cover of a magazine featuring The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, as the main highlight. It also mentions GQ Powerful Pro Yakyu 2000, which is also featured prominently with a baseball character. There are further mentions of Siren 2 and Biohazard Zero, known internationally as Resident Evil Zero. The cover shows Link and the Majora's Mask, along with a girl with goggles and the baseball character. Text on the cover advertises complete strategy guides for Majora's Mask, covering everything from dungeons to heart pieces, events, items, and boss strategies. The magazine is dated July 2000 and priced at 490 yen. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Color game, Monopoly GB. It highlights features like the concentrated tournament mode and a history viewer function. The ad showcases 10 characters with their ages, such as Iri, Gento, Tome, Ryuji, Kaoru, Kevin, Kohiki, Sane, Yasuhiko, and Yuko, implying they might be playable characters within the game. The game is priced at 3,980 yen. This magazine issue features an 80-page special on The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, with guides for gameplay and story. Other highlighted articles include GQ Powerful Pro Yakyu 2000 and a new release Flash section introducing titles like Furai no Shiren 2 and Mario Tennis 64. Regular sections cover secrets, Game Boy communication, previews, and news. An index lists games such as Harvest Moon 64 and both Zelda titles. The page defines genre and accessory abbreviations. A Metal Gear Ghost Babel manga strip is also included. This page is an advertisement for a complete strategy guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It highlights a gameplay tip. Something special happens on the third night if you play the ocarina. The page features Link and Navi. This page is a special feature dedicated to The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It serves as a contents page for a detailed guide, including adventure tips, field and dungeon strategies, and important game data covering monsters, minigames, characters, heart pieces, masks, and items. It also mentions an introduction to The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and Oracle of Ages. This page is focused on The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, providing essential tips for players to manage time effectively in the game. It highlights that players only have 72 hours in-game time, and emphasizes the importance of using time wisely to avoid a game over. The page details several key aspects of time management. It starts by explaining the importance of adjusting time from the beginning of the adventure. It elaborates on using the Song of Time to return to the first day, and how playing an arrangement of the Song of Time, like the Song of Double Time, can change the flow of time. Beyond the ocarina, the guide mentions alternative methods to control time, like talking to the dancing scarecrow or Madame Aroma. It points out that certain events are time-sensitive and only occur at specific times, encouraging players to use the Bomber's Notebook to track these events and obtain unique items. The page also clarifies what items are retained and lost when using the Song of Time. Crucially, it notes that key items remain, while consumable items are lost. Finally, it touches upon how the locations of people in Clocktown change depending on the time of day and night, adding dynamic element to the game world. This page is a guide on how to use the Bomber's Notebook in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It explains how to read the notebook, emphasizing it displays the current time and scheduled events. It details how to find people in need and record their schedules in the notebook. The page highlights checking character actions and how multiple characters can be involved in events. It also describes how events are triggered at specific times and locations, with some events requiring items or masks to initiate. The guide uses screenshots from the game to illustrate these points and explain the different icons used in the notebook to represent various event types, like important events, item rewards, mask rewards, and solving character problems. It mentions that understanding character relationships is key to clearing events and progressing in the game. This page highlights gameplay tips for the game The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It gives advice for field exploration, such as finding fairies near owl statues in Clocktown after warping, planting magic beans to reach hidden chests, and using scarecrows to hookshot to. It also mentions gossip stones providing secrets when playing the Song of Storms, and using the Truth Mask to get hints related to notebook events. For dungeons, the page recommends returning to Day 1 using the Song of Time to reset traps, checking the map for treasure chest locations marked after using the compass, and using different masks to progress through areas requiring specific race abilities. Finally, it advises using the warp to the boss room that appears after defeating a dungeon boss for quicker access in subsequent attempts, indicated by Majora's Mask markings at the entrance. This page is about Actions Hints for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It highlights various gameplay tips for Link's different forms and abilities. For regular Link, the page explains the spin attack, performed by pressing the 3D stick-up and A button, noting it damages enemies and breaks boxes and pots. As Deku Link, players are encouraged to use Deku Flowers to fly and reach high places. Goron Link can use a press attack, activated by holding A and pressing B, which is useful for switches. Goron Link's punch can destroy rocks and snowballs, but bombs are still needed for cracked walls and large boulders. Zora Link can jump out of the water while swimming and damage enemies by swimming into them. The page also advises that the boomerang, when Z-targeted, will always hit its mark. When riding Epona, Link is invincible to damage, even from explosions and fire. Carrots can be used to speed up Epona, but the speed boost decreases as carrots are used, replenishing over time when carrots are not used. The next page is a guide for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It's detailing the world map and the distinct features of each region in Termina. The guide covers several areas: Termina Plain Central area including Clocktown and Milk Road, Woodfall area with Woodfall Temple, Snowhead area, Great Bay area, and Ikana Canyon area. It highlights dungeon strategies, specifically up to the Great Bay Temple. There's a section on how to read the field map, pointing out key icons for locations, heart pieces, information, and monster data. The guide explains the numbering and symbols used on the map to assist players in navigating and understanding the game world. This page is a guide page focused on The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It presents a field map of Termina, highlighting key locations with associated page numbers for further reference in the guide. Locations marked on the map include Snowhead, Goron Village, Mountain Village, Clocktown, Milk Road, Romani Ranch, Swamp, Deaconut's Shrine, Woodfall, Ikana Valley, and Rockville. The page also explains the owl statue of Fukuru and its function within the game as a warp point, activated by striking it with a sword. It notes that warping is only possible to places where an owl statue is located. An icon key is provided, explaining the meaning of symbols like a heart piece, fairies, Deku Flowers, musical notes, treasure chests, gossip stones, and magic beans, indicating what each icon represents on the map, such as heart pieces locations, fairy locations, Deku Flower locations, musical melody interaction spots, treasure chest locations, gossip stone locations, and bean planting locations. Small in-game screenshots are included to illustrate aspects of gameplay and the menu interface. This guide provides a rapid path from the Lost Woods to Snowhead in Majora's Mask. The journey starts by following Skull Kid to Clocktown, acquiring the Song of Healing, then proceeding to Termina Field. Here, the guide directs players to Woodfall, instructing them to navigate the swamp, learn the Sonata of Awakening in Deku Palace, and then enter Woodfall Temple to obtain the hero's bow and the Oath to Order. The route continues through Termina Field, North Termina Field, and Goron Village. Key steps include acquiring the Lens of Truth, pursuing Darmani, obtaining the Goron Mask, and opening the Goron Shrine. Finally, players learn the Goron Lullaby, stop the blizzard in Snowhead, and can now enter the shrine, completing this portion of the walkthrough. This guide provides a strategy walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, covering areas from Snowhead Temple to Ikana Valley. It details how to acquire key items and progress through the game, starting with obtaining fire arrows and goat's remains in Snowhead Temple. The guide then moves to Milk Road to learn Epona's song, followed by navigating Termina Field using Epona. At Great Bay Coast, players obtain Zora's Mask, infiltrate the pirate fortress to retrieve Zora eggs and hookshot. The guide instructs the player to get the guitar fish and obtain more Zora eggs at Pinnacle Rock. Returning to Great Bay Coast, players place the Zora eggs and learn the Bossa Nova of the Tide. Finally, the guide covers Gorman Track to Ikana Valley, obtaining Garo's Mask and the Captain's Hat and the Song of Storms. This page is a field guide section focused on Clocktown from the game The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It presents a detailed map of Clocktown divided into 5 areas: North, West, South, East, and Central. The map highlights points of interest within each area. There are also shop listings detailing items and their prices, such as red and green potions, Deku sticks and nuts, arrows, bombs, milk, magic beans, and Chateau Romani, among others. A Monsters section identifies Steltura as a creature found in Clocktown, and notes that bombers are also running around this location. The page also mentions that Clocktown is divided into 5 areas, and after obtaining the Ocarina of Time, many events will occur. This guide covers North Clocktown in Majora's Mask. Section A details restoring the Great Fairy's magic to use bubbles. Section B explains entering the Bomber's Secret Society via an entrance test after acquiring the Ocarina of Time. Section C reiterates that Deku Link can't take the test and provides the code 53421. Section D covers obtaining the town map from Tingle for 5 rupees. Section E focuses on protecting the old lady from Soleilcon on the first night to receive the blast mask. Finally, Section F describes getting a heart piece from a tree in North Clocktown, inaccessible to Deku Link. This guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask outlines key early game steps. Players must trade the Moon's Tear for a Deku Flower with Akindo Nuts to reach the clock tower. Inside, they'll confront Skull Kid, retrieve the ocarina using bubbles, and learn the Song of Time to reset to the first morning. Next, the Happy Mask Salesman in the clock tower basement teaches the Song of Healing to remove Link's curse. Players can then warp to owl statues using the Song of Soaring after solving a riddle at Fukuro's statue. Other tasks include playing the Deku Nuts minigame for rupees and a heart piece, and revisiting the Great Fairy's Spring to collect fairies. A heart piece is also available on the clock tower's 3rd day afternoon. This guide covers aspects of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Section A details entering the observatory, requiring the password 53421 from the north area. Section B describes the observatory itself, including interactions with the old man, the telescope, a scarecrow, and a cracked wall with rupees. Section C outlines obtaining the bomber's notebook by passing the bomber's test or exploiting a glitch. Section D discusses the Woodfall shooting gallery, where the hero's bow allows for quiver upgrades and heart pieces. Section F describes a time-limited treasure, a chest on the moon viewing tower appearing on the 3rd day, reachable with a Deku Flower for 50 rupees. Section G explains how to reach a rooftop treasure chest via a Deku Flower and hookshot, or bunny hood. This guide offers tips for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. In Majora's Mask, it advises using the Nabeya Inn to manipulate time and unlock events. It also covers obtaining a heart piece at the Goron race and purchasing Chateau Romani, which grants unlimited magic, by using specific masks. For Ocarina of Time, the guide provides methods for acquiring 100 rupees, including Kuko Flight, hookshot use, and Zora mask jumping. It also details obtaining a heart piece at the Market Sword Training Grounds, requiring a high score in the advanced test. Finally, it suggests playing the Scarecrow's song to create a warp point. The next page is dedicated to tips and tricks for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Section A explains that frogs in the game react differently if you are wearing the Garo mask. Section B discusses Guru Guru of the Gorman Troop, who seems to have a confession to make, which can be triggered on days 1 and 2 between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Section C details how rupees flow into the washing area on the night of the 2nd day due to rain, and advises players to collect them before morning. Section D talks about etiquette when visiting houses, specifically mentioning the calling bell at the Manny house, and that ringing the bell is important. Section E provides information on obtaining the Big Bomb bag and Big Bomb, mentioning that the Big Bomb bag can be bought at the Manny house, and the Big Bomb can be purchased after passing a test. This page is a strategy guide map for Termina Field from The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It asks, Link's next destination is east, west, south, or north. The map highlights various locations, marked from A to J within Termina Field, and indicates paths to surrounding areas like Great Bay Coast, Milk Road, and Clocktown. The guide points out locations of holes that might contain items, including heart pieces obtainable by using bombs or matching Gossip Stone colors. A list of monsters found in this area is also provided, including creatures like Dodongos, Biodekuba, bats, peahats, lever, and red choo-choo. The points section advises players to collect heart pieces before moving on. This page is dedicated to tips and tricks for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Section A advises players to use arrows to shoot down ice blocking the path in Snowhead. Section B details how to use Epona to jump over obstacles in the Western Front. Section C explains that defeating 2 Dodongos in a specific hole will yield a piece of heart, advising the use of bombs for a safer approach. Section D mentions that defeating a single Peahat in a hole also rewards a piece of heart. Section E describes a heart piece hidden in a beehive located on the ceiling of a hole on the right side, suggesting the use of Zora Link and Hookshot to obtain it. Section F instructs players to follow the Akindo Nut using the telescope from the observatory to get a heart piece from Akindo Donuts in a hole. Section G talks about the Gossip Stones, where playing a song corresponding to the mask's color in front of 4 Gossip Stones in a hole will reward a piece of heart. Section H warns about the thief Takli who roams around, suggesting players to be cautious and take items back from him if stolen. Section I discusses getting milk by playing Epona's song near a cow under a wooden arch. Section J reveals the secret of Gui, the flying enemy in Clocktown's walls, stating that playing the Sonata of Awakening, or Goron Lullaby, will cause it to drop rupees. This page is a guide focused on the southern Termina Field and swamp areas from The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It highlights these locations as sightseeing spots to visit after obtaining the hero's bow in Woodfall Temple. The guide points out that there are 2 shooting galleries available. The page indicates there are 4 heart pieces, 1 hole, and 1 owl statue to be found within these areas. The page features maps of both southern Termina Field and the swamp, marked with points of interest labeled A to H and G respectively. It details shops in both areas. In southern Termina Field, the shop sells Deku Nuts, Woodfall items, and Snowhead items for 20 and 40 rupees. The monsters listed in southern Termina Field are Wolfos, Green Choo-Choo, Deku Baba, Bad Bat, Mini Baba, and Red Choo-Choo. In the swamp area, the shop sells magic beans for 10 rupees, and the monsters listed are Octorok, Diokuta, Deku Baba, and Mini Baba. A gameplay tip reveals that while Goat, Diokuta, is initially only defeatable with the Boat Cruise boat, it can also be defeated from a distance using projectile weapons like the hero's bow or Zora Link's boomerang, offering a shortcut to the poison swamp without needing to assist Kume and Kotake. This page is a strategy guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, focusing on tips and tricks within the game. Section A talks about taking a boat cruise after rescuing Kume and Obaba, which allows you to defeat Diakta and safely reach Deku Nut's castle. Section B explains how to get a piece of heart by climbing a tree, defeating bats, and then using a ladder. Section C highlights that the swamp water is clean and can be collected in a bottle, and magic beans can be bought from the Akindo Nut. Section D mentions an artistic photography contest where you can take pictures in the swamp to win prizes. Section E is about purchasing magic beans from a Deku Nut, who only sells them to Deku Nuts. Section F details how to use Deku flowers to jump onto rooftops to obtain a piece of heart after acquiring swamp rights from Akindo Nut. Section G discusses the importance of the hero's bow and Woodfall Temple for time challenges, and successfully completing these rewards you with prizes. Finally, Section H mentions shooting games available on the boat cruise after purifying the swamp, with new records leading to pieces of heart. The next page is a game guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, focusing on the swamp, potion shop, and mysterious forest areas. It highlights the fragrant mushroom harvesting season. The guide includes maps for both locations, showing pathways and points of interest marked with letters. It also lists the shop inventory of the magic potion shop, detailing the prices for blue, green, and red potions in rupees. Monster lists are provided for each area, including Deku Baba and Mini Baba for the swamp and snapper, Deku Baba and Mini Baba for the mysterious forest. A point box advises players to return to this location after obtaining Bhutan's mask to get blue medicine. A text section below explains a Majora's secret, suggesting that while blue potion fully restores health and magic, it's more economical and practical to use fairies or green potions earlier in the game when Link's maximum health and magic are lower. This page is a guide to the early stages of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, focusing on the mysterious forest area and the potion shop. It starts by explaining how to navigate the mysterious forest with a monkey guide to reach Kume and Kotake, or, alternatively, follow the map arrows without a guide. The guide then talks about finding red medicine deep in the forest to help Kume, which leads to getting an empty bottle from Kotake. It details rescuing the monkey within the forest, which results in a Deku Nut bag reward in Deku Nuts' castle town. The page then explains that Kotake Baba sells magic medicine in the potion shop, but she leaves after the first day and returns after being rescued in the forest. For players short on rupees, it mentions 50 rupees can be found in the mysterious forest on the second day. The guide further discusses mushroom hunting in the mysterious forest, using the Bremen mask to find mushrooms, and giving them to Kotake Baba to obtain blue medicine. Finally, it provides a tip on defeating snappers using Deku flower jumps, suggesting it's easier than using bombs. This page is a strategy guide for a location called Deku Nuts Castle in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It highlights that playing as Deku Link and mastering Deku flower jumps are key to navigating this area. The page features a map of the location, labeled from A to J, which includes points of interest like a bean cellar, holes, and a prison area, and the King's Chamber. The map legend explains that green arrows indicate moving Deku flower platforms, and symbols denote connected holes. A list of monsters encountered in this area includes Octoroks, Keese, Stalwall, Diocta, Deku Baba, and Deku Nut soldiers. The page also notes the presence of collectibles, like a heart piece, and 5 holes in this area. The map is part of a Field and Dungeon strategy guide section, and mentions the swamp area and page 30, suggesting continuation on another page. To infiltrate Deku Palace and rescue a monkey in Majora's Mask, you must be in Deku Link form. After speaking with the Deku King, a monkey reveals a secret route. Now, nighttime infiltration is recommended for easier guard avoidance. You'll need magic beans and spring water. Plant a magic bean in the backyard to reach it. Inside, speak to the caged monkey as Deku Link to learn a song. Head toward Woodfall through the backyard. After rescuing the Deku Princess in Woodfall Temple, bring her back to the Deku King to free the monkey. A heart piece is in the left garden, best obtained at night. Finally, chase the Deku Nut Minister after freeing the monkey for a mask. The next page shows a guide for the initial dungeon area in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It details the swamp, Poison Swamp, and Woodfall areas, highlighting points of interest on maps labeled with letters A to J. The page lists the items to collect in this area as 0 scarecrows, 1 heart piece, 1 hole, and 1 owl. Enemy types are also listed for each area. A gameplay tip advises using Deku Nut Link form if you fall into the Poison Swamp. The guide also mentions using the hookshot and magic beans to collect all the Skulltula souls in the Woodfall Temple. This guide covers key areas in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, primarily focusing on Woodfall. Players are advised to utilize Deku flowers for flight, particularly in the Woodfall area. They must learn the Ode of Friendship to warp between owl statues. The guide details awakening Woodfall Temple by playing the Sonata of Awakening, and advises players to capture the Deku Princess after defeating Odolwa. It covers replenishing fairies, obtaining a heart piece, mastering the Great Spin Attack by saving fairies, and the effects of clearing the Woodfall Temple on the swamp. Finally, the guide explains how to enter the Spider House and obtain the Truth Mask by defeating spiders. The next page focuses on the Mountain Village and North Termina Field area in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. A point of interest is that the Mountain Village changes significantly after clearing Snowhead Temple, with the snow melting to reveal a new appearance. The page features a map of the area with locations marked from A to H, and it lists enemy types encountered, including blue Tektites, Darknuts, Giant Bees, White Wolfos, Deku Babas, and Mini Babas. The page also notes collectible items in the area, such as scarecrows, heart pieces, holes, and owls, and hints at a side quest involving gold dust and the blacksmith within Mountain Village. The next page is a walkthrough guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Section A explains how to break through a large snowball blocking the path using bombs. Section B details how to use the Mask of Truth and Goron's Lullaby at the hero's grave, mentioning specific actions like pulling the grave from behind and using hot springs. Section C advises players to shake trees in snowy areas to find items, using spin attacks or Goron Link's rolling. Section D describes how some snowballs contain enemies, and items can be obtained by defeating them. Section E explains how to call a Harahari Goron by playing the Goron's Lullaby near a cliff and giving him a Gerudo mask. Section F describes how to reach the hero's grave after the snow melts, going through a tunnel behind the smithy, and using Goron Link to navigate. Section G is about obtaining the gilded sword at the smithy, explaining the process of refining a sword using gold dust over 3 days. Section H reveals the location of 20 rupees hidden behind a waterfall, visible using the Mask of Truth after the snow melts. This page is a guide to Futago Island in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It details how to progress through the area after the snow has melted in spring. Section A explains how to find the Poke Elder, who is frozen in a snowball. By using hot spring water to melt the ice, you can speak to the Elder to learn the half-child song. Section B highlights the presence of hot springs in Futago Island, suggesting their importance for melting ice and solving puzzles. Section C describes how melting snow turns areas into rivers, and reveals treasure chests hidden underwater, which become accessible after melting the lake ice, possibly after clearing Snowhead Temple. Section D focuses on the Goron race, which reopens in spring, requiring big bombs to clear the entrance, with a sand-filled bottle as a reward for winning. The page also lists a shop with items like Tingle and Romani Ranch, priced in rupees, and a list of monsters that can be found in this area, including Blue Tektite, Wolfos, Gwai, Stallchild, Snapper, Deku Baba, White Wolfos, and Mini Baba. This page details strategy for the Goron race and Snowhead area in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It highlights key points, including getting a heart piece, finding a hole, and an owl statue in this area. A gameplay tip advises players to use dashes to navigate narrow cliff paths. The page is divided into sections covering the valley and Snowhead areas, listing monsters such as Ice Keys, Gwez, Dekuba, Mini Baba in the valley, and Wolfos, Gwez, Shirobo, and White Wolfos in Snowhead. Section A explains how to use the Goron's Marumari Dash, rolling dash, to cross gaps on cliffs. Section B describes sealing a giant Goron, causing a blizzard, by playing the Goron Lullaby. Section C reveals a method to obtain a heart piece using the Mask of Truth to see hidden platforms, and then using the hookshot from a scarecrow. Section D points to the location of the Great Fairy of Wisdom in Snowhead Temple, who doubles magic power after rescuing fairies there. Finally, there is an advertisement for a complete Majora's Mask strategy guidebook to be released on May 31st. This page is a game strategy guide focusing on the Goron Village and Goron Shrine area. The guide indicates that the goal in Goron Village is to obtain the Truth Glasses, and in Goron Shrine it is to get Goron's Lullaby. The page includes a map highlighting key locations like the Big Bomb Shop, Goron Cave, Goron Shop, and a children's room. It lists monsters found in the area as blue tektites and stalactites, and details 2 shops. The Goron Shop, which sells bombs, arrows, and red potion with prices varying between winter and spring, and the Goron Cave Shop offering Deku Nuts and the biggest bomb bag for 200 rupees, requiring a larger bomb bag to purchase. The bottom text discusses the Goron Village Shop's pricing strategy, noting significant price differences for bombs depending on whether the area is ice-covered or after defeating a boss. It mentions the bomb price reduction is considerable, but implies that hoarding bombs isn't necessary, as bomb bags are readily available. This guide focuses on key aspects of The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It details how to obtain and use the Truth Glasses by following the Owl's guidance and Darmani's ghost. The guide also covers gaining access to a hidden shrine by rolling snowballs after the first day. It then explains how to learn the Goron's Lullaby by using the Half Song of Awakening, and how to obtain a sales permit for Deku flowers. Further sections outline a Goron Village puzzle involving bonfires and a chandelier, and how to attack the chandelier to find a hidden item. Finally, the guide describes the process of completing the Big Bomb Shop test to receive the Big Bomb Bag. This page is a walkthrough guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, focusing on the Milk Road, Gorman Track, and Romani Ranch areas. It mentions that Romani Ranch is a key location and will become fully accessible after obtaining big bombs. The guide tracks collectibles for these areas: scarecrows, heart pieces, holes, and owls. The page details maps for each location, showing routes and key points labeled A through G. Milk Road connects to Romani Ranch and Gorman Track and leads to Talmina Plains. Gorman Track is a separate smaller area. Romani Ranch is shown with named buildings like Mother House and Small House, and areas like Dog Racetrack. Shops are marked in Milk Road selling Tingle and Great Bay items, and in Gorman Track selling Gorman Brothers milk. The bottom of the page has a Majora's Secret tip, which talks about cutting grass in the Milk Road area revealing hidden secrets, and something happening in Clocktown related to this, which remains a secret for now. The next page is all about The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Section A explains how to access the milk bar early on the first day by using a big bomb flower to clear a boulder at the entrance, allowing you to enter on day 1 instead of day 3. Section B is about getting Epona. It mentions talking to Romani and completing an archery minigame to receive Epona's song. Section C details the horse race against the Gorman brothers. Winning against them will get you the Garro's Mask. It advises to run on the inner course to win. Section D is about helping Romani at night. If you protect the ranch from the aliens, you can get a bottle of milk as a reward. Section E covers protecting Cremia on the milk cart journey. If you successfully guard the cart from the Gorman brothers during this event, you will get Romani's mask. Section F describes the Cuckoo DE March event in the chicken coop. If you play the Bremen mask for the chicks, they will follow you and grow into adult cuckoos. Talking to Anju after this will reward you with the bunny hood. Finally, Section G talks about dog racing. If you bet on a dog and win the race earning 150 rupees or more, you will get a piece of heart as a prize. You can get a heart piece by betting 50 rupees or more and winning first or second place. The next page provides a strategy guide for the Great Bay Coast and Tongari Rock area in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The guide highlights the objective of collecting 7 Zora eggs hidden within the Pirate Fortress and Tongari Rock. A detailed map of the Great Bay Coast is featured, marked with key locations labeled A to J, and icons indicating items and events like heart containers and treasure chests. Monster types found in Great Bay Coast are listed as Kurobu, Skulltula, Stallbaby, Deku Baba, Mini Baba, Like, and Levers. A shop at Great Bay Coast sells Tingle for 20 rupees and rock salt for 40 rupees. For Tongari Rock, the deep python is listed as the monster. The page also includes a gameplay screenshot and provides advice on navigating back to the shore from Tongari Rock by swimming towards the divine beast to trigger fog that will return Link to the shore. The next page is a guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Section A is about saving the Zora warrior Mikau, who is dying on the shore. Playing the Song of Healing for him allows you to get the Zora mask. Section B explains how to reach the Marine Research Lab by jumping across platforms in the water. Section C mentions that the fisherman likes strong women and describes getting a picture of a Gerudo pirate to receive a seahorse from him. Section D is about breaking a wooden board with a skull mark near the seahorse race entrance to enter a cave. Section E is about following the golden fish for guidance in the water. Section F details entering a cave with sea snakes and defeating them to get eggs. Section G is about collecting Zora eggs at the Marine Research Lab and learning the new wave Bossa Nova when all 7 are gathered. Section H describes bombing a cracked wall to enter a spider house where heart pieces and giant wallets can be found. Section I explains how to use the hookshot and magic bean to reach a scarecrow near the seahorse race entrance and using the scarecrow's song to make it appear. Section J is about feeding fish in the Marine Research Lab tank multiple times to make them grow and obtain a heart piece. This page is about Zora's Cape and Zora Hall from The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It provides a map of the area, highlighting key locations labeled A to F, including Zora Hall, the entrance to the Great Bay Temple, and various rooms. It lists the monsters you'll encounter in this area, such as Gui, Skullgio, Dekuba, Mini Baba, Like, and Lever. The page also details shops in Zora Hall, including the Zora shop selling items like Hero Shield, arrows, and red potion, and Akindo nuts selling green potion. There's a hint about a secret in Majora's Mask related to the beaver race, mentioning that the course changes daily and becomes shorter on the 2nd day after obtaining a heart piece. This walkthrough for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask details several tasks. Retrieve Lulu's singing voice by transforming a turtle. Defeat likes and waterfall pots for heart pieces, using bombs to break barriers. Ascend the waterfall via hookshotting a palm tree for rupees. Participate in a music session with Joppas in Zora Hall. Play the song found in Mikau's diary as Zora Link, then speak to Evan as a different form for a heart piece. Access a fairy fountain on an island by hookshotting and clearing rocks with bombs. Finally, in Lulu's room, trade land deeds for sea deeds, with a business scrub as Goron Link for another heart piece. This page is a strategy guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, focusing on the Pirate Fortress area. It features a detailed map of the fortress, showing different sections labeled A to I and locations marked with symbols. The guide highlights a point that says buying a map in the game will reveal the locations of female pirates, making infiltration easier. It also lists monsters in this area, specifically mentioning skullfish. The text at the bottom gives a hint about Majora's secret, and mentions using a telescope in a room accessed by climbing a ladder to observe the inside of the fortress and female pirates, although it notes that with the map, using the telescope might not be necessary. This page is a walkthrough guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Section A explains how to infiltrate the pirate's fortress by observing the female pirates from the water, emphasizing that you are safe from detection while submerged as Zora Link. Section B describes how to press a switch inside the pirate's fortress by rolling as Goron Link to open a submerged entrance. Section C details navigating the water passages inside, explaining that blocks and boards obstruct the path but can be broken with body blows or moved. Section D warns about spiked iron balls in the underwater passages that can cause explosions if touched, advising to detonate them remotely with projectiles. Section E instructs the player to use a boomerang to activate a distant switch, opening the door to the warehouse. Section F describes a water current in the passage's bottom leading back to the port, advising caution to avoid touching iron balls in the water. Section G explains using a floor switch to trigger a water spout, requiring an arrow shot while riding the spout. Section H details how to open a door at the top of a room by detonating iron balls with a boomerang to activate an impact switch. Section I shows a shortcut using the hookshot inside the pirate's fortress, explaining it can be used on the wall markings near pressure switches to bypass passages. The next page is a guide for The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, specifically focusing on the pirate fortress area, where the goal is to retrieve Zora's egg. The page includes detailed maps of both the interior and exterior areas of the pirate fortress, labeled with letters A through H to indicate different sections. There's a point section highlighting the importance of the hookshot for navigating this area. The page also lists the monsters encountered, including female pirates, shellblades, and Despreco, along with gameplay screenshots and monster illustrations. It looks like a strategy guide to help players navigate this dungeon in the game. The next page is a strategy guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It provides tips for navigating the pirate's fortress and dealing with the female pirates there. Section A advises using a bow and arrow to defeat the lookout pirates. Section B explains how to infiltrate the central lookout tower. Section C instructs the player to take a picture of a pirate for the fisherman. Section D guides players to drive away the pirate boss. Section E explains how to rescue eggs from a tank. And Section F provides stealth tips for entering the tank rooms. Section G suggests using drums for cover during combat, while Section H advises using the ceiling for easier navigation. The guide focuses on the pirate section of the game and collecting the Zora eggs. The next page is a guide for the East Termina Field and Icona Canyon area in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It features a map of the region marked with letters A through H, highlighting points of interest. The guide points out that to climb the cliffs in Icona Canyon, there's a trick to it. It lists the monsters you'll encounter in this area as Blue Bubbles, Nijiran, and Real Bombkes. There's also a shop selling Deku nuts and blue potions for 100 rupees. The text below the map describes Icona Canyon as having a river to the right and swampy areas where Koptako Babas appear, suggesting you should buy blue potions from the shop in preparation. The guide also mentions there's one heart piece, one hole, and one owl in this area to find. This page is a guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Section A explains how to enter Icona by jumping over a fence with Epona. Section B details how to reach the cliff top by using the Garo's mask and hookshot, suggesting to talk to the POW master while wearing the Garo mask to get a tree to hookshot to. Section C discusses an area in Icona Valley that is currently inaccessible, suggesting an item or method is needed to climb it, and mentions Octoroks by the river might hold a key. Section D talks about a suspicious man in Icona Valley during daytime, who provides Icona information and resembles the bomb shop sack thief. Section E describes sensing murderous intent in multiple locations, where wearing the Garo mask makes Garo appear. Section F discusses the seemingly impenetrable security at the entrance of the Khan's hideout, made of different colored rocks, questioning how to enter. Section G highlights a lucky event, where blue potion is sold for 100 rupees in Icona Valley, cheaper than at the potion shop. Finally, Section H discusses the mystery of a hole behind a well in Icona Valley that leads to an iron gate and a dead end, noting a suspicious sun mark above the gate. The next page is a strategy guide for the Icona Graveyard from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. The page title itself is Icona Graveyard, the place where warriors who protected Icona sleep. It shows a map of the area with points of interest labeled A, B, C, D, and E, including Dampé's shack, graves from day 1 to day 3, and a hole requiring a bomb. The guide highlights that Stalkita enemies can be temporarily stopped by arrows, allowing players to close in. The page also lists the monsters players will encounter in this area, such as Iron Knuckles, Keese, Stalkita, Skullfitula, Stallbaby, Deku Baba, Bad Bats, Big Pose, Floor Masters, and Mini Babas. The top of the page also mentions elements found in this area, including scarecrows, a piece of heart, holes, and owls, and includes a screenshot of gameplay in this location showing Link facing a Stalkita. The next page is a feature on The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Section A describes how to awaken the Stalkita mini-boss in Dampé's shack area by playing the Awakening Sonata. Section B explains how to command stall children in the graveyard at night. By wearing the captain's hat, you can instruct the stall children to dig. Section C details how to learn the Song of Storms. You need to set fire to the brazier in Flat's house using fire arrows, and then speak to the composer Flat to learn the song. Section D talks about using the Mask of Truth on the second day in the graveyard. Invisible enemies and passages become visible when wearing the mask. Section E describes Dampé's treasure hunt on the third day. You guide Dampé around the graveyard and use Z-targeting to lead him to dig at specific locations. Blowing into a Deku flower causes a Big Po to appear. Defeating the Big Po rewards you with an empty bottle. The next page focuses on a strategy guide for the Woodfall Temple in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It outlines the steps to enter the temple, which include obtaining the Ocarina of Time, helping Kume and Kotake, navigating the Poison Swamp by boat, learning the Sonata of Awakening at Deku Palace, playing it at Woodfall, and finally entering the temple. The page highlights that Deku flower jumps are key for movement within the dungeon, and using arrows to light torches is also important. A map of the first floor is shown with numbered rooms and locations of items like the boss room key, small key, compass, hero's bow, and the dungeon map itself. This page is from a strategy guide for the Nintendo 64 game, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It focuses on the Woodfall Temple, and specifically, the boss fight with Odolwa, the forest-masked warrior. The page provides a map of the second floor of the dungeon, a list of monsters found there including Keese, geckos, giant bees, Skulltulas, snappers, Dinolfos, Dekubabas, and dragonflies. It also highlights what becomes available after clearing the temple, such as being able to reunite the Deku Princess with the Deku King, play a minigame in the Deku Scrub Shrine, and enjoy a shooting game during a boat cruise. The page then outlines a walkthrough strategy chart in numbered steps, indicating that detailed explanations for steps highlighted in red can be found on the following pages. This walkthrough guide details strategy for a dungeon in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. Players begin by using Deku flowers to jump across platforms in the first room. In the second room, the Deku mask is crucial to avoid damage from lily pad enemies. Rooms 5 involves defeating snappers, iron-masked enemies, by flipping them with Deku nuts and attacking. This unlocks a map. Room 8 requires lighting a candle stand to access Room 9. This is done by positioning a block to create a path and using a Deku stick and a nearby torch to light the candle. The flame can then burn spiderwebs to reach the upper level of Room 9. Finally, Room 12 features moving platforms and enemies. Players must defeat enemies like gonflies before navigating the unstable platforms. The next page is a walkthrough guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It provides step-by-step instructions on how to progress through a dungeon. Step 12, located in Room 2, advises players to activate a switch near a candlestick to create a ladder as a backup route. Step 14, in Room 4, warns of a Dinolfos enemy encounter and suggests using Deku nuts and fire to defeat it. Step 15, Room 3, instructs players to shoot an eye switch with an arrow to activate a moving platform. Step 16, Room 6, explains how to defeat the gecko enemy using Zako nuts. Step 20, Room 2, details lighting candlesticks in a specific order to advance. Finally, Step 21, Room 10, guides players to shoot a switch with an arrow to proceed towards the boss room. The guide mentions using items like arrows, Deku nuts, and Zoko nuts, and the Deku flower for jumping. This page is a strategy guide for the Snowhead Temple in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The page shows a map of the first basement floor, B1F, and the first floor, 1F, of the dungeon, with numbered rooms indicating a walk-through path. There's a list titled Flow to the Temple, outlining steps before entering the temple, such as obtaining Goron Mask and learning Goron Lullaby. Below the map, there's a strategy chart, providing a step-by-step guide for navigating the dungeon rooms, indicating actions like pushing blocks with Goron Link, using Spin Dash, getting items like the map and compass, and defeating enemies like Wizrobes. The guide uses red arrow numbers corresponding to the map to show the player's progression through the dungeon. The text emphasizes that detailed explanations are available on page 58. A point box highlights that the central room with blowing wind and raising pillars is a key part of the dungeon. This page is a guide for the goat-masked mechanical beast dungeon in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It features dungeon maps across 3 floors, 2F, 3F, and 4F, showing room numbers and pathways. The guide provides step-by-step instructions, from step 21 to 39, on how to navigate the dungeon. These steps include actions like dropping down, passing through rooms, defeating freezards, using fire arrows to hit ice switches and melt ice, moving using the rolling dash, and using a small key. The page also lists the monsters you will encounter in this dungeon: Red Bubble, Enoke, Wizrobe, Shirobo, Dinophos, Freezard, White Wolfos, and Real Bombchu. Finally, it notes that upon clearing this dungeon, you will be able to participate in the Goron race and temper the Kokiri sword into the Razor Sword. This page is a strategy guide focused on dungeon for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It details walkthrough steps for various rooms, starting with Room 3, where you need to use Goron Link's rolling dash to jump across a gap. In Room 5, you have to move a block to access a small room containing a key. Room 4 requires bombing a cracked wall to reach Room 14 and also to obtain the compass. Room 14 is in North Termina Field and highlights the icy footing and breaking ice. Room 13 emphasizes the importance of order, requiring players to activate pressure switches in the correct sequence, A, B, C, to proceed. Finally, Room 10 advises using the rolling dash again on ice to reach Room 12, cautioning players against falling. The guide also mentions falling to B1F and using ice arrows and Deku flowers to return to Room 6. This guide details the acquisition and use of fire arrows in a Majora's Mask dungeon. Upon defeating Wizrobes in Room 12, a treasure chest containing fire arrows appears. Room 1 demonstrates their usefulness, melting ice obstacles and enemies. Room 6 showcases using fire arrows to ignite distant torches. Room 2 involves a pressure switch puzzle, raising a pillar crucial for boss access. Room 3 highlights fire arrows' effectiveness against freezards, resulting in a small key. Finally, Room 11 requires using a fire arrow on an ice switch, melting ice, and opening the path to the next level. This page is a strategy guide for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, focusing on dungeon walkthrough. It provides step-by-step instructions for Rooms 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Room 16's entrance to Room 19 requires fire arrows to melt ice, and mentions no enemies are present but can be ignored, as there are no treasure chests. Room 19 warns of 2 Dinofla's enemies appearing from behind when entering from Room 17, but these can also be ignored. Room 17 requires crossing a central pillar to reach Room 18, which becomes accessible after activating a press switch in Step 20. Room 18 features another Wizrobe battle with more enemies than before, but they are the same strength, and defeating them yields a key to the boss room. Rooms 10 and 15 both involve a Daruma drop puzzle, where pillars with blue sections need to be punched, using Goron Link to shorten them. The guide explains how to use Goron Link's punch and Marumari dash to navigate these rooms and solve the pillar puzzles to progress in the dungeon. The page highlights the use of Goron Link's abilities to solve puzzles and defeat enemies in this dungeon section of Majora's Mask. This guide provides dungeon tips for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It focuses on finding hidden fairies and navigating dungeons efficiently. Players are advised to check treasure chests and break objects, as fairies may be hidden within. The Great Fairy Mask helps attract stray fairies. A trick list offers solutions for common dungeon obstacles. Iron grates open after defeating all enemies. Pressure switches are activated by Link or boxes, while eye switches require arrows. Candle stands need fire, Wooden boxes can be placed but not thrown. Cracked walls can be bombed. Impact switches are triggered by sword/hook shots. Blocks are pushed or pulled, and larger ones may require Goron Link. Switches are stepped on. Arrows and obstacles melt with fire, and icicles fall with arrows. Hook shots target items. Defeating enemies often unlocks treasure, and enemies can be puzzle solutions. The next page is a monster strategy guide for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, focusing on monsters encountered up to the Icona Graveyard. It's a monster list detailing enemy types, their action patterns, weaknesses, and main habitats. The page features descriptions of 5 monsters: Tektite, Blue Bubble, Red Bubble, Ice Geese, and Wolfos, providing gameplay tips and strategies for each. For example, Tektites jump and attack, and can be defeated by attacking when they land. Blue Bubbles are encountered at night, and can be defeated by blocking their fire and attacking. Red Bubbles are found in Snowhead Shrine, and can be defeated with wide attacks. Ice Geese are found in the valley, and freeze Link upon contact, and are best defeated with arrows or throwing weapons after blocking their attack. Wolfos are found in southern Clocktown, and attack with claws, their weak point being their back after an attack. This page is a monster list from a feature on The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It details various enemies found in the game, outlining their behavior patterns, weaknesses, and main habitats. Enemies listed include the Golden Skulltula, Octorok, Deku Baba, Keese, Gwai, Green Choo-Choo, Skullwaltula, both black and white versions, Shellblade, Giant Bee, Skullkita, and Wallmaster. For each enemy, there's a short description of how they act and where they are typically found, along with a note on their weaknesses if they have any, like light being effective against Skullwaltulas, or the face of a Deku Baba. Most enemies are stated to have no specific weakness, and can be defeated with standard attacks or projectiles, like arrows or hookshot for the Golden Skulltula. The locations span different areas of Termina, such as Woodfall Temple, Snowhead Temple, Termina Field, Icona Canyon, Pirate's Fortress, and Deku Palace. This guide details various enemies from The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Enemies and their weaknesses are as follows: Stalkshuras, abdomen; Stallbabies, horizontals vertical sword strikes; Snappers, abdomen and Deku Flower; Dioctus, projectile weapons; Takuris, soap bubbles Deku Nuts; Deep Pythons, boomerang; Deku Babas, head and stems with sword Deku Sticks; Death Prescos, boomerang; Dodongos, stomach and tail; Dragonflies, vertical sword strikes; Negirons, hookshot; and Bio Deku Babas, head with habitats include Clocktown, Icona Graveyard, Mysterious Woods, Woodfall Temple, Termina Field, swamps, and more. A secret reveals Takuri locations on the Termina Field map. This page is a guide to enemies in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It details various foes, including Bad Bats, Peahats, Hiplups, Fourmasters, Frizzards, Real Bombkeys, White Wolfos, Mini Babas, Baby Peahats, Likes, Levers, and Red Chooches. Each entry describes the enemy's attack style, location, and how to defeat it. Weaknesses vary, with some enemies vulnerable to specific weapons or attacks, while others have no exploitable weak points. The guide highlights effective strategies like shield use, projectile attacks, and specific transformations, Goron, Zora, to defeat the enemies. An advertisement at the bottom promotes a comprehensive strategy guide for the game. The next page is focused on middle bosses in what appears to be The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It details strategies for defeating 3 bosses: Gecko, Dynafoals, and Big Octo. For Gecko in Woodfall Temple, the advice is to use Deku Flower jumps and arrow shots, noting it turns into a frog upon defeat. Dynafoals, also in Woodfall Temple, is best tackled by defending with your shield and attacking after it attacks, with a warning about fire after defeating it. Lastly, Big Octo, found in Snowhead Temple, requires identifying the real body by looking for blue light on the floor among its clones and attacking it with a sword. None of these bosses are listed as having specific weaknesses, but the strategies provide effective combat approaches for each. This guide outlines strategies for defeating 4 enemies in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. The female pirate, found in the Pirate's Fortress, is best handled by dodging spinning attacks and using the hookshot to immobilize her. The Stalkita, located in Icona Graveyard, is defeated by stopping its movement with arrows, especially near flames, and then sword attacks after dodging its punches. The Big Po, also in Icona Graveyard, is vulnerable to arrows fired from a distance without Z targeting. Finally, The Iron Knuckle, found in Ikana Graveyard, is best fought with the Zora Boomerang followed by back somersaults and jump slashes, with increased speed after armor breaks. A strategy guide for the game is advertised, with a release date of May 31st. This page is a strategy guide focused on defeating the boss called Goat, referred to as the Masked Machine Beast Goat, and Jungle Masked Warrior Otorua. The guide suggests that this boss is more powerful than previous bosses and provides tactics for victory. The core strategy involves using arrows to temporarily immobilize Goat when it attacks. When Goat is enraged and roaring, it's an opportunity to strike with arrows. During the fight, if a wall of fire appears, players should stay put and wait it out, noting that giant insects summoned by Goat will disappear in the fire. Defeating these giant insects is crucial for health recovery. For attacking Goat directly, players should use Goron Link and chase Goat in a circle, ramming into it for damage. When Goat is knocked down, continuous spin attacks are recommended. To avoid Goat's attacks, especially lasers and thunder, players should utilize the outer walls of the arena and jump to dodge. Be mindful of rocks and bombs dropped by Goat during the chase. The page features screenshots demonstrating gameplay scenarios, showing Link in action against the mechanical Goat boss within a snowy, arena-like environment. This page is part 2 of an adventure walkthrough focusing on combat in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It highlights effective battle techniques against different enemy types, using Link's various forms and items. The page emphasizes using Deku Link for ground enemies, noting his spin attack and bubble shot as effective against enemies like Green Chuchus, Mini Babas, and Keese. It advises using Goron Link's rolling attack and punch for enemies such as Red Bubbles, Likes, and Lizalfos, and the Goron Press for tougher foes like White Wolfos and Stalfos. Zora Link is presented as ideal for underwater combat, with his punch and boomerang attacks being effective against enemies like Likes, Shell Blades, and Biodeku Babas. The page also lists items effective against specific monsters. For example, the sword is good against Tektites and Stallbabies, shields against Bubbles and Octoroks, Deku Nuts against Crows and Stalfos, Deku Sticks against Likes and Dragonflies, bombs against Dodongos and Lizalfos, Bombkas against Iron Knuckles and Freezards, Big Bombs against Iron Knuckles and Stallkeese, Hero's Bow against Keese and Bats, Fire Arrows against Freezards and Goats, and the Hookshot against Stalactites and Octoroks. Finally, the page points out that some enemies, like Stalactites, can be defeated unexpectedly with the hookshot to their belly, and some enemies react to ocarina melodies, hinting at hidden effects of music in combat. This guide provides strategies for earning heart pieces and rupees in The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask's minigames. The Daily Play Arena, East Clock Town, 10 rupees, rewards a heart piece for 3 perfect plays. The Lottery Shop, West Clock Town, 50 rupees, can be easily won by memorizing the first day's winning number and using the Song of Time to buy a ticket with it. The Kendo Hall, West Clock Town, 10 rupees strategy involves Z-targeting the Maruta and jumping to attack. The Bomb Basket game requires throwing bombs at the highest point of Link's run animation. The Target Shooting game emphasizes focusing on closer targets and waiting for foot rotation alignment. Finally, the Treasure Chest Shop can be easily beaten by using Goron Link to dash straight to the treasure chest. Majora's Mask features several minigames. The Town Shooting Gallery in East Clock Town, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., 10 rupees, Hero's Bow required, challenges players to shoot blue Octoroks for a quiver and heart piece, requiring memorization of their order. The Deku Nut Play Spot in North Clock Town, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., 10 rupees, involves Deku Flower Jumps for 50 rupees and a heart piece, with no special conditions. The Swamp Shooting Gallery in the Swamp Tourist Information, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 10 rupees, Hero's Bow required, tasks players with shooting Octarina Nuts and Guess for a quiver and heart piece. The Boat Cruise Shooting Game, also at the Swamp Tourist Information, all day, 10 rupees, after Woodfall Temple, requires players to shoot Yamame Kumo while avoiding Kotake Baba for a quiver and heart piece. This page is a guide to Deku Nut's Pride from The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The first tip explains how to navigate a ravine using Deku Link, suggesting reverting to normal Link after jumping to avoid losing time. It also recommends using the bunny hood for ease. The second tip details a shortcut using water in a large room to bypass the intended route and reach the Deku Nuts Minister quickly. The third tip describes navigating a room with flames, advising players to follow the path guided by the Deku Nuts Minister. The guide then mentions the magic of the mirror, advising players to purchase the magic mirror before entering the Mori no Komorebi Yukumae area. It mentions the hookshot is necessary, and a puzzle is solved using a sonata. Next, it highlights the unexpected usefulness of the captain's hat, especially in the swamp area. It suggests talking to stall babies with the hat to obtain heart pieces, noting that the swamp is a high difficulty area. The Epoma's windmill section describes a balloon popping minigame on Epona at Romani Ranch, available from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily. The dog race section details the dog race minigame, where players can bet on dogs. It suggests betting 80 rupees or more and aiming for second place to win a heart piece, recommending using the Mask of Sense. Finally, there is a map of the Deku Nuts Pride area, with numbered locations corresponding to the tips explained in the guide. This guide summarizes mini-games in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. The Epona Grass Race involves horse racing, advising strategic whip use for speed boosts, and blocking rivals like Gorman to win Gorman's Mask. The Goron Race emphasizes efficient use of jump platforms and avoiding rivals, offering a bottle of powdered keg as a prize. The pot-breaking game uses a boomerang. The guide suggests a throwing position, a 10 rupee entrance fee, and offers 100 rupees for winning. The Beaver Race requires hookshot usage. The advice includes underwater ring navigation, avoiding direct ring hits, and understanding ring pattern rotations for the best times, with prizes of an empty bottle, a piece of heart, or a second empty bottle depending on the day of winning, with a provided map. This page is a character introduction page focusing on The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It highlights various characters players will encounter in Clocktown and other locations in Termina. Featured characters include Link, Chat, a fairy, Trail, another fairy, and Stawkid, all located at Clock Tower. Other characters are Aroma's husband, Anju's mother, and Anju, located at the inn. There are also characters in South Clocktown like Nuts the Salesman and Iano, and in East Clocktown like Akameo. Characters in the laundry area include Kaioru, Keaton's masked boy, and Guru Guru. Romani Ranch features characters like Cows and Romani's grandma. There are also characters in the sundry shop, Kakashi, Talamina Plains, Camaro, a person on top of a tree, and the Sword Training Ground, Uncle. The masked salesman is inside the clock tower. The page also details 2 helpful actions challenges, focusing on Romani and Cremia to obtain Epona. The first challenge involves helping Romani on the first day to protect the cows from ghosts, and the second challenge on the second day to help Cremia protect milk from night owls. Completing these events successfully leads to acquiring Epona. This guide details the characters and events in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. Clocktown is populated by diverse individuals, from the arrogant milk bar owner Gorman and the thieving Sakon, to the strict shooting gallery old man and the rule-abiding Captain Bazin. Other notable figures include the stray fairy, the sunglasses-wearing Manny shop old man, the disappearing carpenter, and the cheerful mayor's receptionist. Gameplay elements include using cuckoos for enhanced jumps, and various shops with quirky owners. Mysterious figures such as the person dancing on a pillar, the postman, and the self-proclaimed fairy, Tingle, add to the game's unique charm. Several side quests are mentioned, including helping Guru Guru at the laundry pool and Nadakuru at Romani Ranch with their tasks. This page explores characters and side quests in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, detailing various NPCs like the Rosa Sisters, Romani, Cremia, and several Gorons and Deku. Notable side quests include protecting Bomb Shop Grandma from thieves, a 30-minute morning event, and guarding milk from the Gorman brothers, culminating in a track race. The Majora's Secret section highlights parallels between Majora's Mask characters and those from Ocarina of Time, suggesting a deliberate connection in their design and names, like Darunia's transformation into Darmani and Maron into Cremia. This text summarizes a guide for The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask, providing a character list with descriptions and locations. The guide details various characters Link encounters, including Gorons, Zoras, pirates, and inhabitants of Icona Valley. Notable characters include Darmani III, Mikau, Lulu, and Stalkida. The guide also touches upon significant in-game events, such as becoming a bomber member, interactions with Sakon, and the Zora Band, the Indigo Goes. The descriptions are intended to help players navigate the world and understand key story elements. This page is a strategy guide focused on locating heart pieces in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It breaks down the locations by area, such as Clocktown South, North, West, and East, as well as Termina Field and surrounding areas. For each location, it describes how to obtain a heart piece, often involving mini-games, specific items, or actions within the game. For example, in Clocktown South, you need to use a Deku flower after getting the Moon's Tear from an Akindo nut at the Clock Tower entrance. In Clocktown West, you need to deposit 5,000 rupees in the bank to get a heart piece. Clocktown East requires playing daily minigames. Termina Plain includes areas like holes with dodongos or peahats. The guide provides visual aids with screenshots showing in-game locations and actions, aiming to help players collect all the heart pieces in Majora's Mask to increase Link's health. The important data section mentions Majora's Mask secret, hi, related to the game's elements. This page is dedicated to a special feature on The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It serves as a guide highlighting locations and tasks to acquire heart pieces throughout the game. The page details various areas like the Swamp, viewing spot, where you can play a Matiding game, Woodfall with a treasure chest on a stump, Goron Village to navigate a cake cliff, Great Bay Coast for Sea Cucumber's House and Ocean Research Center puzzles, Zora Cape with Sea Snake's Den challenges, Icona Canyon and Icona Graveyard for tomb exploration. Each section provides gameplay hints and screenshots showcasing how to find heart pieces within these locations. For example, in Woodfall near the swamp entrance, there's a heart piece hidden, accessible by using Deku flower jumps. In the Ocean Research Center, you can get a heart piece by feeding fish to a large fish tank inside. The page also features artwork of Link riding Epona. It concludes by promoting complete heart piece coverage and announcing the release of a Dengeki Attack King Complete Strategy Zelda's Legend Majora's Mask Solution Book on May 31st. The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask features 13 masks, each with unique abilities. This guide details 6 key masks. The Deku Mask transforms Link into Deku Link, granting trumpet abilities. The Goron Mask, found in the mountain village, turns Link into Goron Link, enabling drum playing. The Zora Mask, located at Great Bay Coast, transforms Link into Zora Link, allowing guitar playing. The Great Fairy's Mask attracts and detects stray fairies. The Blast Mask enables explosions, and the Bremen Mask allows Link to lead animals in a march. A section titled Majora's Secret hints at additional game features and secrets. This guide details 7 masks in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. The Rabbit Hood speeds up movement, found at Romani Ranch. The Deku Mask, from the Deku Butler after Woodfall Temple, allows use of Deku flowers and spinning. The Garo Mask, earned from the Gorman Brothers race, allows access to Garo areas. The Romani's Mask, from Crimea at Romani Ranch, grants milk bar access. Don Garo's Mask, given by Harahari Goron, lets you speak with frogs. The Captain's Hat, from Stalkita in Icona Graveyard, commands stall children. Finally, the Stone Mask, from Shiro in Icona Graveyard, reduces enemy detection. This page details the ocarina melodies in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It lists 14 songs with their effects and how to obtain them. Key melodies include the Song of Time, Returns to the First Day, the Inverted Song of Time, Slows Time, the Sonata of Awakening, Awakens Sleepers, the Elegy of Emptiness, Summons a Giant, Epona's Song, Calls Epona, the Song of Storms, Causes Rain, Goron Lullaby, Puts Gorons to Sleep, New Wave Bossa Nova, Gives Lulu Courage, and the Scarecrow's Song, Summons Scarecrows. The page also briefly outlines the Bartering Event, a trading sequence spanning Clocktown, the Swamp, Goron Village, Zora Hall, and Icona Valley, which rewards items like the Moon's Tear and various title deeds. This page is a guide to items in The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. It details C items, which are items you can assign to the C buttons, such as the Ocarina of Time for playing melodies, Deku Nuts to temporarily stop enemies, bombs for explosions, and the hookshot to grapple to distant locations. The guide also covers empty bottles and what you can put in them, like red, green, and blue potions to restore health and magic, spring water, milk, fairies, fish, mushrooms, bugs, the Deku Princess, sand, tadpoles, and Zora eggs. Finally, it highlights power-up items, such as the feather sword and gold sword, to increase sword power, bomb bags and larger quivers to carry more bombs and arrows, and wallets for holding more rupees. It also mentions Great Fairy power-ups, like soap bubbles, the Great Fairy's mask, spin attack enhancement, and magic power enhancement that you get from reuniting stray fairies with the Great Fairies. This page is a preview for the Game Boy Color game, The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, and The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages. It highlights that these Game Boy Zelda titles, known as Fushigi no Kinomi, or Mystical Seed of, are being released in the year 2000, following the N64 title, Majora's Mask. The article explains that these are brand new games, not remakes, being developed by Nintendo and Capcom, calling it a Dream Team collaboration, and highlighting the high expectations for these titles. The preview introduces the game's story, set after the SNES Zelda, A Link to the Past, and the gameplay mechanics. It mentions dungeons with puzzles, and familiar events, like trading sequences. The characters featured include Din, the Oracle of Seasons, described as a dancer kidnapped by the Dark General Onyx, who seeks to plunge the world into chaos using the Rod of Seasons. Onyx is also introduced as the Dark General. The article also introduces Maple, a mischievous witch girl who Link encounters on his travels. She is described as stealing items from Link, leading to item battles when they bump into each other, advising players to be careful of her. The price of the game is listed as 3,800 yen, with a release date expected in 2000. The game genre is noted as RPG, and the media is GB cartridge. This page is all about the new Game Boy Color title in the Legend of Zelda series, The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons. It highlights the Rod of Seasons, which lets you change the seasons in the game world, impacting the environment and gameplay. For example, vines grow in summer, allowing you to climb, and frozen rivers in winter allow you to cross them. The page also introduces tree nuts, special items with different effects when used, such as setting things on fire. It mentions that these nuts can be carried in a nut sack. The article showcases companions that will aid Link on his adventure. Ricky the kangaroo, who can move quickly and punch enemies, and Mushu the winged bear, who can fly but also unleash powerful wind attacks, are introduced. Dungeons are said to be packed with new mechanics, referencing classic Zelda puzzle elements like pushing blocks and lighting torches, alongside new challenges. One screenshot shows a giant roller, and another a minecart puzzle. Finally, the page mentions the game's trilogy structure, explaining that Oracle of Seasons is part of a set of 3 linked chapters, emphasizing action and puzzles. It mentions that the game chapters are Chapter of Power, Chapter of Wisdom, and Chapter of Courage, and the actions in one chapter can influence the others, but the exact linking method is still unclear. The next page is all about GQ Powerful Pro Yakyu 2000, which we know as Power Pros 2000. It's highlighting the success mode and player data features of the game, boasting it's packed with things to see. The page mentions it's for the N64, from Konami, supports 1 to 2 players, and uses 128 MB of memory. It's priced at 7,800 yen. There's also information about a contest deadline set for June 5th for submitting your best team data from the game. It details how to enter the contest, using save data on a controller pack, and sending it in. This guide provides strategies for defeating various teams in a baseball game. Teams like Tanpopo Manufacturing Plant and Nikoni Insurance have random player skills, recommending hitting straight pitches. Poisonous Life features fastball-focused pitching. Against Drill Electric, widen your hitting cursor and anticipate curveballs. Jindo Construction has strong defense but weak offense. NPP Japan uses a vanishing strike zone, requiring focus on curveballs and forkballs. Dogu Sugoi Sake Brewery is a power team with slow runners. Kyokuraku Gas pitchers throw sinkers, while Kurojishi Heavy Industries throws forkballs. Other teams like Ichiban Boshi Automobile use knuckleballs and shootballs and have weak defense. Government Bank's key pitcher has weak changeups, and Capital Defense Force has a slider. Finally, Cuba uses forkballs and straight pitches. Across several teams, the most common advice is to be patient at the plate and focus on hitting straight pitches. This guide provides advice on developing pitchers in a baseball game, focusing on initial ability, ball speed, and changeup skills. When setting initial abilities, prioritize changeups, allocating 3 points for great pitchers and 2 for good pitchers, with variety across changeup types. For ball speed, aim for at least 140 km per hour, utilizing powerful goods, Dugoi Sake Brewery, and pig hunting concern for training. Consistent training is key, and the Dugoi Sake Brewery provides muscle strength benefits. Obtain a tube pull early from Tambopo Manufacturing for training. The changeup section emphasizes developing 2 to 3 different changeup types, starting with forkballs. Focus on raising the level of primary changeups and increasing others to match the game's level. Be cautious, as changeup training increases the risk of shoulder and elbow injuries. Use Daijobu Doctor at the hot springs if injured. This page is all about baseball strategy in what is likely a Power Pros game, focusing on player development and in-game tactics. It discusses raising player abilities, specifically control and stamina, and acquiring special skills. For control and stamina, it recommends companies within the game like Dosugoi Brewery and Inogari Concern, and advises balancing speed with control, with different approaches for starting pitchers and relievers. The page emphasizes mental training and course throwing practice. For special abilities, again, Dosugoi Brewery and Powerful Goods companies are suggested, highlighting acquisition through random events and game center visits. There's also advice on pitching against the computer, advocating for sinkers, aiming low in the strike zone, and using strike ball patterns. Essentially, it's a guide to building a strong team and winning in-game baseball matches. This baseball fielder training guide outlines strategies for 3 positions: first base/DH, third base, and shortstop. First base/DH training prioritizes batting power, emphasizing skills like power hitter and weight training to boost power stats, specifically aiming for over 120 power. Third baseman training focuses on defense, with skills such as defensive person, and training in ground ball and line drive catching. Shortstop training also centers on defense, recommending maximum level training for defensive skills and recruiting players with high initial defense stats. 2 key check sections advise focusing on initial player ability, ideally F rank or above, and actively batting during matches to develop special skills. The guide's format and gameplay elements suggest it originates from a Power Pros series baseball game. This page is about the N64 baseball game series Jikyu Powerful Pro Yakyu, which was very popular in Japan but wasn't released internationally under that name. The page focuses on the outfielder and catcher positions in the game, providing gameplay tips and advice. For outfielders, it emphasizes that having high running, shoulder strength, and defense is crucial. It's recommended to train defense and base running skills early in the game's success mode. It lists desired special abilities for outfielders, like defense professional, good throwing, eagle eye, and infielder assist. For catchers, the page highlights the importance of catcher ability to effectively manage pitchers. It suggests focusing on catcher circle skill and mentions special abilities such as catcher circle, good throwing, and block. The page also details training methods to acquire these skills, particularly for catchers. It outlines a 3-step process. Step 1 focuses on improving defense skill. Step 2 is about waiting for advance to appear. And Step 3 involves triggering special training events to learn skills like catcher circle. The article includes game screenshots showing gameplay and player stats screens related to training and skill acquisition. It emphasizes that for Pig Gorilla, a character or team name in the game, possibly referring to a company in the game, it's more effective to raise power stats than average stats. It also advises creating players with sub-positions to increase their versatility in team formations. This document outlines key events within a baseball game, likely Jikyu Powerful Pro Baseball, focusing on player development. Events occur throughout the in-game calendar and significantly impact a player's stats and abilities. First Salary offers choices impacting toughness and stamina. Starter or reliever defines pitching roles. Personnel changes, promotion tests, and regular player announcements affect rank, salary, and motivation based on performance. Ebita's appearance requires interaction. Christmas and New Year's shrine visit offer relationship and ability bonuses. Go to camp provides intense training. Of now. Lottery offers financial gains. Scout checks can grant special abilities. Finally, Now to the World Tournament appears in the final year. Effective event management is crucial for player advancement. The next page focuses on going out events, which seem to be in-game date locations to improve character stats and relationships, likely in a baseball game setting. Locations like Je Tame, which helps with ailments, Thrill Hot Springs for toughness and fatigue recovery, Sports gym to increase upper and lower body strength. Shrine to improve luck and obtain special pitches. Peachy Peachy Beach, Izakaya Pub, and Shopping District and Movie Theater are listed, each offering different benefits. There's a section dedicated to going out with Yakabe, to locations like bookstores, parks, and batting cages. City Center allows for item purchases. Going out with potential girlfriends is also covered, with advice on date locations and improving relationships. Crane games are mentioned as a way to obtain abilities. Random events can occur, and there is a game center event. Park events are also described, helping with motivation and fatigue. Finally, Yabe and Suites is another event type. The general theme is maximizing character stats and relationships through strategic outings in what appears to be a baseball game, possibly from the Power Pro series due to the Konami logo on the baseball bat. This guide provides gameplay tips for a Japanese N64 baseball game, possibly from the Power Pro series. It offers advice on various aspects of the game, including weight loss through dating, hitting strategies based on in-game hints, and special event triggers. Training sections led by characters like Saito and Shin focus on improving fielding, catching, and blocking skills. Players can gain experience and boost skills using in-game items. The guide also details event scenarios involving characters like Yakabe, Rin, and Arita, alongside advanced training at a national camp. Players can utilize in-game phone calls for scheduling and building relationships. Finally, it warns of potential unexpected events such as a traffic accident that may impact player progression. This page is about the Nintendo 64 game Bass Rush Eco-Gear Power Worm Championship. It's presented as a guide with 5 fishing UP points, aimed at helping players improve their fishing skills. The guide covers essential tips, such as paying attention to water splashes to locate bass, targeting obstacles where bass gather, mastering the hooking timing, following guide displays on screen, and switching camera angles for better views and lure control. The page includes screenshots illustrating these tips in action from the game. It also mentions the game is currently on sale for 7,800 yen and is for 1 player. Bass Rush was a fishing game released exclusively in Japan for the N64. This page is about mastering tournament fishing techniques in a fishing game. It highlights key strategies to win tournaments by understanding seasonal and time changes that affect fish locations, moving fishing points after catching several fish, and mastering lure techniques. The page also introduces different lure types like shad and fishing actions such as reeling, pause, rod action, and hit and hang. It mentions that the game features faithfully recreated lakes and various types of fish besides bass, including kamerchi, hakuren, itu, koi, and brown trout. 6 lakes are listed in the game: Kawaguchi Lake, Kitaura, Nojiri Lake, Kasumigaura, Lake Biwa, and Ikehara Dam. The page suggests players try to catch illusionary fish in these lakes. It emphasizes that the game Bass Rush accurately recreates the lake and fish data. This page is about Nushitsuri 64, Shiokaze ni Note, Monster Fishing 64, Riding the Tide. It details points for events in Hokkaido's detached island and how to win the Ito fishing tournament. To get the rescue raft clothes and tsurai, players need to trade Karafutomasu with an old man in a fishing tackle shop. For the Ito fishing tournament, using a spinning rod and floating minnow lure is recommended. The page also lists locations to find items like cards and stones within the game and describes how to obtain the boat shopkeeper's glasses by trading kawahagi. Finally, it offers general fishing advice, suggesting to watch for fish near the surface. This page is a strategy guide for a fishing RPG, likely a Legend of the River King game. Specifically the N64 port released only in Japan, known as Kawaii Kochi Musume no Monogatari. The guide focuses on the Northern Sea Remote Island section, advising players to first obtain the Tropical Fish Picture Book and Fishing Note. It details how to get rescue clothes, either by fulfilling fishing conditions or purchasing them at the tackle shop for 50 yen. To catch trout, the guide recommends using a 30 yen spoon lure at the river beside the tackle shop. The page also explains how to cure the injured ship owner by obtaining medicine from an old man fishing near a girl's house, offering options to win it via rock, paper, scissors, or buying it for 500 yen. Befriending Kappa Hirotaka involves giving him medicine and choosing dialogue options to become friends, after which he will guide you to the tackle shop. A section lists must-have items, with locations including stones, treasure chests, and bells in various areas. Another part details flower language that can be learned from different characters by finding specific flowers such as iris, violet, Adonis ramosa, morning glory, roses, dandelions, and tulips. Finally, there's a lure fishing tip advising players to wait for a cue sound when fishing before reeling in. This page is from the Crash Research Institute section, dedicated to N64 game strategies and secrets. It highlights 2 games, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, and Ito Shigetari's Bass Fishing, Number 1 Decisive Edition. For Kirby 64, the page reveals 2 secret techniques. One technique is to collect all the crystals in the game and achieve a 100% completion rate. After doing so and clearing the level 7 final stage, an option called Boss Butch will be unlocked in the movie section. This mode allows players to fight against all the bosses in succession. The second part of the page covers Ito Shigetari's Bass Fishing, Number 1 Decisive Edition. It features fishing tips and tricks, mentioning a character called Kaoru-kun, who provides advice when you get a bite. The article discusses how to identify hidden bites and increase the chances of catching big fish by mastering this technique. It also gives advice on selecting lures, casting, and reeling techniques for bass fishing in the game. This page highlights secret features and tips for both Nintendo 64 and Game Boy games. For Top Gear Rally 2 on N64, it reveals cheat codes entered at the flag screen that unlock effects like no damage, a chuddy world view, an upside-down perspective, increased speed with speedy warp view, and wobble tire. Moving to Gauntlet Legends on N64, it introduces 4 hidden playable characters: Falconess, Jackal, Summoner, and Tigress. These characters can be unlocked by finding 50 coins in treasure chests, located in secret entrances within different stages of the game. For Game Boy, Power Pro Kun Pocket 2, it explains how pressing the C button during battle scenes lets you quickly check your player's stats. In Marion Ellie's Atelier GB, another Game Boy title, repeatedly pressing the A button when facing the globe in the Atelier will cause it to spin faster and eventually break. Finally, the page includes an editorial section which discusses reader submissions, prize categories for top submissions, and contact information for readers to send in their own game secrets and tips to the magazine. This page focuses on the upcoming Game Boy Color RPG, Star Ocean. Blue Sphere, a brand new entry in the series set after Star Ocean. Second story. The article highlights the game's new systems, emphasizing real-time battles, where movement and strategic positioning are key. Characters can use skills in combat, and these skills can be leveled up by allocating skill points earned after battles. Players can freely customize which skills to improve. The game boasts numerous party members, although only 3 participate in battles at a time. The screenshots showcase exploration, combat scenarios, and skill selection menus. The text emphasizes the strategic depth and enhanced gameplay compared to previous installments, mentioning skill and item creation as returning and improved features. The next page is a preview of 2 games. The first game is Survival Kids 2, Dashutsu, Futago Shima, a survival RPG where players must escape from a deserted island. The article details gameplay elements such as gathering food, securing water, starting fires, and crafting items. It mentions exploring the island and using survival techniques. Screenshots show the game's top-down perspective and gameplay scenarios like item creation, food gathering, and building a house as a crucial base. The second game preview is for Ojarumaru, Tsukio ga Ike no Takaramono, a board game based on the anime Ojarumaru. The game is described as having 4 minigames where players compete to collect items. It features characters from the anime, like Ojarumaru and Kazuma. Screenshots show minigame interfaces and characters. The text also mentions the game being a Shugoro Q-style board game, where players collect items and can encounter people on the board to gain points. The player with the most points from items wins. This page highlights 2 games. First, it introduces Dance Dance Revolution GB, a portable version of the popular arcade dance game for the Game Boy Color. It mentions a dedicated finger controller for enhanced play, and shows screenshots of the gameplay interface and a song list. The song list includes titles like Have You Never Been Mellow, Butterfly, Paranoia, I Believe in Miracles, Boom Boom Dollar, Bad Girls, If You Were Here, Dub I Dub, Hero, Brilliant 2U, AM3P, SPTRIP Machine Jungle Mix, Paranoia MAXDIRTY Mix, El Ritmo Tropical, Love, Damn Dararim, and La Señoritas. Secondly, it previews Metarot 3, Metabots 3, a new installment in the Robot Battle RPG series for the Game Boy Color. Noting it's the third game in the popular series, it introduces a new item called Medallia, which enhances robot performance and indicates that collecting medals and parts to customize robots remains central to the gameplay. New robot types are showcased, including Dark Panther, Stray Wolf, and Brown Bison. The screenshots illustrate battle scenes and the Medallia customization interface. This page is packed with first looks at upcoming Game Boy Color titles. We've got a preview of Shin Megami Tensei Devil Children Black Book and Red Book, the latest in the Megaten series, highlighting the conversation and fusion systems. You can talk to demons during battles to recruit them as allies, and then fuse demons together to create even stronger ones. Screenshots showcase the battle encounters and the fusion process, showing how combining a Nekomata and a Sand Dragon results in a Nike. Also featured is Yosuke Ide's Mahjong Classroom GB, a mahjong game supervised by the pro Yosuke Ide. It's designed for beginners, offering a classroom mode to learn the rules and quizzes to test your knowledge. Finally, there's Bakusu de Kotora Densetsu GB Special, a game about decorated trucks where you aim to become a legendary trucker by delivering cargo, customizing your truck, and racing rivals. The screenshots show gameplay and the interface, revealing the objective to become the best trucker. The page also contains a small section mentioning that in Devil Children, you can have up to 2 devils in battle and have a partner system. This page features first reports on 4 upcoming Game Boy Color titles. The first is Dokapon Millennium Quest, a role-playing game where players aim to become the richest adventurer. It's set in the Janken Kingdom and features strategic battles using weapons and defense skills, with damage types playing a key role. Dungeons are randomly generated, and items change each time you enter. Next is Ganbare Nippon Olympic 2000, a sports game tied to the Sydney Olympics. This game, part of a popular series, emphasizes simple button controls to enjoy various Olympic events like track and field, swimming, weightlifting, and fencing. The goal is to aim for gold medals in different competitions. The third game is Love Hina Pocket, an adventure game based on the popular manga and anime Love Hina. Players assume the role of Keitaro Urashima, managing the Hinata Inn and interacting with the female residents. The game focuses on conversation and building relationships with the girls. Finally, Goldfish Tales is a goldfish raising simulation game. Players nurture their own goldfish by feeding them and managing their aquarium's water quality. The game includes mini-scenarios and allows players to expand their collection of tanks and observe the evolving appearances of their goldfish. There are even human-faced fish to be discovered. This page previews 4 upcoming games. Rockman XGB, a Game Boy Color title, blends elements from the Mega Man X series, incorporating slide dashing and accessible gameplay. Hello Kitty's Sweet Adventure follows Hello Kitty and Daniel's quest to reunite. Players gather love points to acquire items, manage health with candy, and take commemorative photos. Moomin's Great Adventure, based on the anime, is an adventure game where Moomin and friends explore Moomin Valley, clearing mini-games to collect question marks while managing health. Finally, Kaizu Monogatari Poyon No Dungeon Room 2 is a dungeon RPG where players, controlling Poyon, improve stats through will, gain technical points for profession changes, and battle enemies using strategic attacks to collect stamps. This page features previews for several games. First is Chase HQ, a nostalgic racing game being revived with new elements. It highlights the concept of chasing criminals in cars, detailing how players must pursue and stop them. The game features character selection with different car performance and the addition of pursuit mode, where multiple players can chase a criminal. Next is Bubble Bobble, announcing new stages and boss characters. It describes the gameplay as controlling Bublin, trapping enemies in bubbles, and defeating them. The Game Boy version will have 20 stages and new boss characters, with colorful backgrounds and event graphics appearing after defeating bosses. The story is about Bublin searching for Moonwater to help his sick brother Boblin. Finally, There's a preview for Bakuriman 2000 Charging Card GB, a card game for Game Boy based on the Bakuriman series. It emphasizes the card battle gameplay, aiming to become a top-class card battle player. The game involves combining cards strategically to create high-scoring hands. In the GB Soft Mini Preview section, 2 Game Boy games are featured. Ojarumaru. Moonlight Pond's Treasure is described as a Sugoroku, Japanese board game, with anime characters and many anime events. Kaiju Monogatari Dungeon Room 2 is an RPG where you dig through dungeons, nurture your own monsters, and analyze enemy parameters. It's noted as a popular RPG series, the second installment, with elements of job changes and skills. The next page is an advert for a complete strategy guidebook for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It highlights that it is a complete strategy guide, promising easy-to-understand walkthroughs and detailed data. The guide covers everything from dungeon and field maps to enemy information, boss strategies, and full scenario walkthroughs to help players clear the game. It is advertised as a book of solutions and was priced at 490 yen plus tax, with a planned release date of May 31st. The tagline on the right side boldly states, "The journey through time progresses like this." This page showcases a prize giveaway with various games and merchandise. Prizes include the Nintendo 64 game Fishing Master 64, Game Boy titles like Chase HQ, Bubble Bobble, Ojarumaru Moonlight Pond Treasure, Monster Maker, Dragon Dungeon Room 2, and Game Comp 21. Other prizes include a Hamster Club strap, a Pokemon bandana, a Game Boy Color console, a designated book card featuring an N64 game, and Pokemon plush pillows. The page also details how to enter the giveaway and lists the winners from the previous month's contest. This page highlights the 64DD and related content. There's a contest announced with a grand prize of 1 million yen for ideas that could become LandNet content. Another contest is focused on the Mario Artist series, inviting submissions made with Mario Artist Paint Studio, Mario Artist Talent Studio, Mario Artist Communication Kit, and Mario Artist Dance Stage. Also featured is an advertisement for the Nintendo 64 keyboard, priced at 4,600 yen, emphasizing its usefulness for email and message boards. Finally, there's a section about Doshin the Giant, Freed from Pain, discussing how to transform the game into a harsher experience with a concept called Liberation Front. It mentions needing to build pavilions in the game to unlock movie content and playing Doshin 1 in a specific way. There's also a mention of a Doshin Liberation Front and Doshin Dissolution Attack, which seems to be an interview or feature related to the game's development and staff. This page is an advertisement for strategy guides for 2 Nintendo 64 games. The first guide is for Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, and boasts that with this book, no enemy will be a problem. Stagements. It highlights that it includes information on all 35 types of copy abilities and copy ability mixes, perfect capture of crystal locations, and complete stage maps. It also mentions a pretty Kirby seal is included. The second guide advertised is for Legend of the River King 64. Let's catch the biggest. Fish on, and states that with this book you can truly meet the Nushi, and it includes complete analysis with character-specific chart advice for the fishing family's adventure. Both strategy guides are published by Dengeki Nintendo 64 and Kadokawa Shoten. This page is showcasing new and upcoming Nintendo 64 game releases in a feature called New Release Flash. It highlights games such as the sequel to Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer, which is titled Shiren the Wanderer 2, Oni Invasion, Shiren Castle, stating, "This time Shiren protects the village from Oni." It also features Resident Evil 0, mentioning, "The origin of fear is here." Mario Tennis 64 aiming for a smash hit, Paper Mario. Excitebike 64, Nagano Winter Olympics 98, listed as Nippon Olympic 2000, and Doraemon 3, Nobita's Town SOS. The page includes screenshots from some of these games, such as Shiren the Wanderer 2 showing in-game items and a scene, Resident Evil 0 showing a dark corridor, and Mario Tennis 64 with Mario and Luigi on the court. Layout is energetic with cartoonish artwork and bold text. This page is a preview for the Nintendo 64 title, Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2, Oni Shurai Shiren-ju, focusing on the challenging traps and monster encounters players will face. The article highlights how traps can instantly lead to death, and how monsters now boast even more powerful special attacks than before. Screenshots show Shiren being pushed into pits by monsters, emphasizing the danger of falling between floors. The text emphasizes that players can't relax, even when eating rice balls, as the dungeons will be unforgiving. The game is slated for a summer release, with pricing yet to be determined. Mystery Dungeon, Shiren the Wanderer 2 introduces gameplay changes and new features. Falling into water causes item loss, emphasizing danger. A new spear weapon allows 2 square attacks, offering strategic advantages but preventing shield use. The game features a village, Natane, where the carpenter needs help rebuilding the castle. Villagers are friendly, but hesitant about Shiren's capabilities. A new monster, Marujiro, appears in the village. New characters may appear to assist Shiren. The large earthquake trap deals significant damage and destroys items, highlighting the importance of trap awareness and avoidance strategies. This page is all about Biohazard Zero, which is known as Resident Evil Zero in English. It's highlighting a new game mechanic, where you can drop items on the floor and then see them on the map. The article explains that in this game, unlike previous Resident Evil titles, there are no item boxes. Instead, you can leave items you find on the ground, and they will be marked on your map so you can easily retrieve them later. The screenshots show the in-game menu with a place item option and a map screen where dropped items are indicated. It emphasizes that this new system makes the map even more crucial in Resident Evil Zero. Resident Evil Zero focuses on the Bravo team of STARS, a special tactics and rescue unit in Raccoon City. The game introduces Rebecca Chambers, a Bravo team member, alongside her team, including Enrico, Richard, Forrest, Kenneth, and Edward. Alpha team members, key characters in the first game, are also mentioned. The narrative centers on Rebecca's struggle for survival in a zombie-infested train in the Arklay Mountains. She encounters Billy Cohen, a death row inmate, and they reluctantly team up to fight for their lives against various undead creatures, like zombies and zombie dogs. This game serves as a prequel, setting the stage for the events of the original Resident Evil. This page is all about Mario Tennis 64 and reveals new playable characters being added to the game. The headline boasts, Service Ace Class New Information Released. We see Peach and Mario prominently featured, highlighting the game title, Mario Tennis 64. The article announces that Daisy, Kinopio, Toad, Baby Mario, and Teresa, Boo, are joining the roster of playable characters. It details the unique characteristics of each new character, accompanied by screenshots showcasing them in action. A preview section describes how each character feels to play, noting Boo's slipperiness and unique movement. The release date is confirmed as July 21st, with a price of 6,800 yen, and supporting 1 to 4 players. This page is focused on the ring shot mode in Mario Tennis 64. It describes ring shot as a unique and fun mode distinct from regular tennis. The page explains that ring shot was initially featured in Mario Golf 64 and is now included in Mario Tennis 64. The objective is to hit tennis balls through rings that appear on the court to score points. There are 3 types of ring shot modes explained. Time, where you get rings within a time limit. Ball, where you get rings within a limited number of balls. And game, where you compete to get more rings while playing a tennis match. The page emphasizes that timing is key to hitting super serves and accurately aiming shots in ring shot. It mentions the controls are simple, using the 3D stick and A and B buttons, but mastering timing and course control is essential for skillful play. Screenshots show gameplay of ring shot mode with various Mario characters like Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Wario, and Donkey Kong participating. It highlights that even if you win the tennis match in Game E mode, failing to get enough rings means you haven't really won, encouraging players to focus on ring collection. This page introduces Mario's story for the N64, which is known internationally as Paper Mario. It's presented as an action RPG, emphasizing the appealing 2D characters and new gameplay elements. The article highlights the game's field exploration aspects, where icons appear above interactive objects and characters, prompting players to investigate. It also details the battle system, focusing on timed button presses for commands to maximize damage. Special abilities are mentioned through badges, which offer various strategic options in combat. The fate of Princess Peach is also posed as a point of interest. The page mentions the game was displayed at E3 in America from May 11th to 13th. This page highlights the N64 game Excitebike 64, which is described as a full-fledged bike game and an evolution of the 84 FC version. It was released on June 23rd and priced at 6,800 yen. The game features motocross racing with more exciting gameplay and acrobatic stunt techniques. The page details different gameplay modes including normal races against computer opponents, time attack mode to challenge course records, and a versus mode for up to 4 players. It also emphasizes the ability to create your own courses using an edit mode, allowing players to combine straightaways, curves, and jumps to design original tracks and race on them. The screenshots show in-game racing action, course editing screens, and a versus mode scenario, with large soccer balls being used in gameplay, suggesting a unique and varied gaming experience. The riders are described as having individual characteristics, with some being particularly good at jumps. This page showcases Ganbare Nippon Olympic 2000, which is known internationally as International Track and Field 2000 on the N64. It's highlighted as the newest entry in the popular Hyper Olympic series, promising a realistic Olympic experience at home. The game boasts 14 different Olympic events, emphasizing simple controls for anyone to easily pick up and play, while still offering depth for serious players. Screenshots feature various events like swimming, track and field, high jump, and gymnastics, demonstrating the visual style and gameplay. The text mentions that up to 4 players can compete together. It's presented as a fun, engaging sports game that captures the excitement of the Sydney Olympics. This page is all about the N64 game Doraemon 3. Nobita's Town SOS. It's described as the latest in the popular Doraemon series, and a 3D action-adventure game where players explore Nobita's town. The main feature is the ability to freely roam Nobita's house and the town, which are rendered in 3D. The story revolves around Nobita's town being transported into space by the evil Bagul Emperor, and Doraemon and Nobita need to rescue the townspeople, including Shizuka, Tsuneo, and Gion, who are also being controlled by the enemy. The page highlights how gadgets play a crucial role in gameplay, offering examples like the bamboo copter and the flower-blooming glove, which can change the environment. It also mentions minigames like Voice Katamari, where players use voices to defeat enemies, and puzzle-based minigames for up to 4 players. Screenshots showcase gameplay in Nobita's town and minigame scenarios. It's noted that familiar characters from the Doraemon anime, such as Shizuka's mom and the teacher, will also appear in the game, along with Dorami. The game was scheduled for release in July for 6,800 yen. This page covers news from E3 and upcoming game events, with early May details about Nintendo's booth. Major reveals include the GameCube, Dolphin, and Game Boy Advance, though specifics are pending. E3 highlights sequels to N64 titles, Majora's Mask, Banjo-Tooie, and Pokemon Gold and Silver. Banjo-Tooie has a July 24th US release. Perfect Dark is a promising cyber shooter. Rare's Dinosaur Planet is a 3D adventure. Outside E3, Shibuya, Tokyo, hosts the World Doshin Expo from May 23rd to June 21st, celebrating the 6-4DD game, Doshin the Giant. Capcom is entering mobile gaming with a Capcom Game Park on eMode, including Resident Evil content, and games like Dino Genesis, a dinosaur breeding sim. Photos from E3 and game screenshots are included. This page dives into the filming location of the TV commercial for the N64 game, Nushitsuri 64, featuring an interview with Maria Kitazawa, the star of the commercial. Maria shares her enjoyment of the filming process and expresses her love for games, mentioning her fondness for SFC, GB, and GBC. Elsewhere on the page, there's a game ranking chart covering April 3rd to April 30th. The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, tops the N64 charts, followed by Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, GQ Powerful Pro Yakyu 2000, and Wave Race 64. Further down the list for N64 are Donkey Kong 64 and Super Smash Bros. The most anticipated N64 games are also listed, with Mario Tennis 64 taking the top spot. This page is a special feature dedicated to The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. It is a commemorative piece for the release of the game, presented as a humorous comic strip. The comic highlights elements of the game like the Song of Time and the 3-day cycle system. Characters such as Link, Navi, the Postman, and Anju are depicted in comical situations. The page is titled Shioman 64. This page is a humorous comic strip called Shioman 64, focusing on The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask. The comic illustrates the frustrations and funny moments of playing the game, especially the time limit and the need to use the Ocarina of Time. It shows Link dealing with the time constraints, shop closures, minigame challenges, and the stress of the 3-day cycle. The characters are stylized versions of Link and other Zelda-like figures in comedic situations related to the game's mechanics. The comic highlights the game's unique features, like time travel, and the importance of the ocarina in overcoming obstacles within the 3-day limit. This page is an advertisement for The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask on the Nintendo 64. The page prominently features the iconic Majora's Mask and is filled with screenshots showcasing gameplay from this adventure. It emphasizes that the memory expansion pack is required to play the game, and promotes both the standalone game cartridge and a bundle that includes the memory expansion pack. The page announces the game's release in Japan. This page is an advertisement for YAG Daibakatsu Animation Academy, a school for aspiring game creators. It is promoting enrollment for April and May 2001, highlighting their double study system, where students can study 2 departments for the price of 1 annual tuition fee of 1.2 million yen. The school offers 7 departments under their Game Creator Comprehensive Department, including CG Designer, Game Designer, Character Designer, Game Scenario Writer, Sound Director, Motion Capture Designer, and Digital Video Expert courses. The advert also mentions evening specialized courses available at Tokyo and Osaka schools, and a 1-day trial enrollment and school briefing session. The visuals showcase robotic CG models, possibly created using 3D Studio Max software by students of the Sendai School CG Designer Department. This page is an advertisement for 2 Game Boy Color games, Bubble Bobble and Chase HQ. Bubble Bobble is highlighted with a large image of Bub, the main character, and text promoting bubble action. It mentions that there are 120 stages and colorful graphics. The release date for Bubble Bobble is stated as May 26th, priced at 3,980 yen. Chase HQ is also featured, advertising 2 titles released at the same time. It boasts a new map pursuit mode and new courses for the game. Both games are advertised as Game Boy and Color Common cartridges and are published by Joruden.